Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Yes, we got some gaming news today. I know it's been a little bit, but hey, look. I can't make up news. I can't fabricate news. I'm not CNN, alright? So if something happens or I deem there's a subject matter worth talking about, I'll do a video. It's fine. But yes, I know there's been a lot of reviews recently. That's just the kind of thing which has been available to do. But we have some gaming news. And we return to an old... Let's just call them an acquaintance, shall we? You know, let's not pretend it's anything more than that now. Blizzard and the World of Warcraft. Now, just to make my personal stance clear, I am not touching any Blizzard games whatsoever while the ban on Blitzchung holds, just because Activision and Blizzard love China and money, or China's money would be more accurate, more than human rights and free speech. I don't want to personally support that while they have the ban active. So I will not be touching any product while Blitzchung remains banned, and American universities and the hosts of the Hearthstone tournaments, etc. Just making that perfectly clear. But an article dropped a couple of days ago, and I didn't want to talk about it then because it was it's a fluff piece trying to big up patch 8.3, the latest World of Warcraft patch. And I wanted it to drop in America, and then I wanted it to drop in Europe, and then I wanted to get feedback on what people's reaction to the patch was. Because Ian says something rather interesting in this article, not about the patch per se, but about the future of World of Warcraft. And you have to really kind of go down to get to the meat of the matter. And so 3/4 of the way, maybe more, into the interview, we get this question. Horrific visions remind us of Torghast from Shadowlands in the way it's been described, but only a few rewards have been introduced on the PTR so far. Are more rewards planned for release even in a hypothetical patch 8.3.5? So Ian says, first of all, just to get it out of the way, even though they mentioned patch 8.3.5 earlier on, but don't worry about that. We currently don't have any plans for patch 8.3.5. There may be some small system tweaks or updates for stability between now and Shadowlands, but Visions of N'Zoth is really the concluding chapter of Battle for Azeroth, and we're excited to focus our attention on Shadowlands and the upcoming beta for Shadowlands that'll be opening up over the course of the year. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is it. This is it in terms of content for World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth. And so, first and foremost, you've got to ask yourself the question, has this been enough? Has there been enough content in this expansion? Particularly when you're trying to justify a monthly subscription fee, and also the fact that they've really topped up the store this time around with 5 store mounts. Yes, they're optional, but of course they are unique mounts and they are very sought after by people, etc. So, I personally would say no. Kelspries, you didn't think I was going to say that, did you? But look, let's just look at this from a rational manner, okay? This is the release date for Battle for Azeroth, 14th of August 2018. We're just past the 14th of January. So it's just 1 month away from a year and a half old, 18 months old, and they've just released patch 5.3. So in a year and a half, there was essentially 2 patches. 5.1, we'll talk about Final Fantasy in a moment, 8.1 and 8.2. Not much. When I saw the 8.1 patch, no, it was laughably bad. It was laughably bad. It added basically nothing to the game whatsoever. It didn't sort out many of the incredibly bad issues with the launch of Battle for Azeroth at all. 8.2, I wouldn't know because I stopped playing. I've not played current WoW for nearly a year now. It was the end of January of last year that I stopped my subscription. Not because I'm having a hissy fit at Blizzard or anything like that. My reason was purely logical. I didn't believe that Battle for Azeroth justified the subscription fee. And I think that is a perfectly valid reason not to subscribe to a video game. If you don't feel you're getting value for money, why pay for it? Anyway, I resubscribed in August, or whenever it was, when, or September, when Classic WoW came out. But it only lasted a month. Not because I didn't want to play Classic. I've got to be, again, totally clear here. I was loving my time playing Classic. I think it's a far better version of World of Warcraft than the current version in terms of multitude of different things. I've been through it so many times. Watch some of the videos. But that's when the Blitzchung business happened. And that's when I decided that I was going to boycott Blizzard while the ban on Blitzchung was active. And I still think there's probably 2 months still active on that in itself. So to drop the final patch just now, long time coming, 8.1, not up to much at all. So realistically, 2 patches this expansion. Realistically. Now, that kind of goes along the same theme as Warlords of Draenor, in essence, in terms of content. So, is there enough in those 2 patches? Nah. Now, I can say, looking at things like the survival guide, I've watched the survival guide, I've watched the trailer, I do keep an eye on these things, because I do very much love the aesthetic of WoW. You know, I think this staff looks real cool, and these armors just look dirty. You know, when I say dirty, I mean it in an actual complimentary way. Just look horrible, you know, because of the whole N'Zoth business. And there was, you know, well, I'm not particularly interested in allied races. I think they're a bit of a con to try and get people to purchase character boosts, personally, but there we go. You know, there are a couple of things which do look interesting. The divisions, I do think that they look interesting in terms of you've got to sort of build up a resistance against the corruption so you can see more and more and more. Yeah, I know that plays very nicely into the let's keep them coming back business. But hey, it's a game. If it's interesting, if people are invested in it, fine. No problem at all. So that's I did kind of roll my eyes when Rathian was announced coming. Well, not so much Rathian coming back. That's fine. But when they said Rathian's back and he's brought with him legendary cloaks. Do you remember Mr. Pandaria? Do you remember? Blizzard have got no fucking ideas anymore. It's all member berries. Legion. This is going to rattle some people. Fuck it, I don't care. Legion was a member berry expansion because of how bad Warlords of Draenor was and how the millions and millions, R.I.P. Rocky Johnson, man, of people that left that game in its droves. They hit the panic button. Oh, quick, what do people like? Member Burning Legion, member Illidan, member, you know, it would just turn out to be a whole load of that to try and get people. And it worked. For all the nag, it worked. To some degree. It got people back, not all. It got some back. But when it's just like, Rathian's back and he's bringing cloaks with him, it's just like, oh, come up with a different fucking, come on. You know, are they gonna have, speaking of legendary cloaks, are they gonna have stuff like this? You know, are these legendary cloaks gonna have these wonderful procs that we got with the ones in Mr. Pandaria, or are they just going to be these cloaks here that you work and boost up, and it all just kind of feels like a time sink with WoW. It doesn't feel like they're actually creating content that people can be invested in long term. I kind of feel that World of Warcraft literally lives patch to patch, like somebody lives paycheck to paycheck. That's how they operate. They don't seem to implement systems which could last for a long, long time. Other than you could go back into a raid or a dungeon and farm a pet or a mount or a transmog. You know what I mean? But there's nothing else. There's nothing sort of, oh, in 3 expansions time, you could still be invested in doing something. Again, I'll say things like player housing or guild housing or stuff like that, etc. So don't feel as if they put those systems into effect. But there are ideas which, all right, fair enough. The vision stuff, the corruption stuff could be interesting, maybe. I don't know. So at least there's a couple of ideas there. And then what I do find kind of interesting is if you compare it now to Shadowbringers. Now, it's important. I think it is very important that we do actually make this comparison. Why? Because Final Fantasy XIV is growing in subscribers. It's not losing them. It's growing in subscribers. And Shadowbringers has been with us for just over half a year. And next month, we're going to see the release of patch 5.2, which is going to bring with it a multitude of different things to the game. That's after 7 months. Now, you can almost guarantee before the end of the first year's out, 5.3 is going to hit. So by the time a year and a half is over, the chances are 5.4 is going to be hitting. Because they tend to operate off a 5-patch system when it comes to expansions for Final Fantasy XIV that tend to operate, again, off the same time period of a regular World of Warcraft expansion. We're talking a little bit short of 2 years or 2 years and a little bit below, sorry. It can fluctuate here or there. And then, of course, there was the whole meme when it came to Shadowlands and World of Warcraft that, hi, you're copying my homework. And, right, just take this for what it is, folks. A bit of fun. Just take it with a pinch of salt. Don't get too mad, for God's sake, about it. But yes, you got a system here where people were drawing major comparisons between the 2 expansions from what Shadowbringers had already released and what Shadowlands was trying to show off. So very much the cinematics, very similar endings in the cinematics. The Warrior of Darkness burst through the light to release the darkness. And then you have here the darkness bursting through to release the light. It's just a slight flip reverse. Hope nobody doesn't notice that. This one here, I completely think this one is reaching for comparison. I don't quite know what they're trying to do in terms of comparison, but whatever. But then you go down to the next one, it's just like, oh, you've got a Dark Valkyrie type of thing here, but with Final Fantasy, you got the Light Valkyrie type of thing there. That's very similar indeed. Then you got very similar aesthetics when it comes to the dungeons. Then you got very similar aesthetics, if not almost like for like, kind of screenshots of the fairies which are coming in. So just take it as it's intended with a pinch of salt. It's just there for shits and giggles. But it is important, I think, that you look at and you compare the amount of content that's brought, because Final Fantasy XIV always attempts to bring something different and unique to the table. Might work, might not work, but that's okay, because a proportion of the community is always going to get into it, is always going to like it, and there could be something for the people that didn't quite buy into it later on. So you always find with Final Fantasy XIV, you got something to invest yourself and your time and effort into. But I just want to quickly jump on to the upcoming beta Shadowlands that will be opening over the course of the year. Now, that's very important because now I have, regardless of my feelings towards Blizzard, and I think the way that the game World of Warcraft has seriously deteriorated throughout the years, they have always invited me to participate in alphas from when I decided to get into YouTube. From when I joined in 2012, I was already part of the Miss Beta because I bought the annual pass. But from then on, in every expansion, I've been invited to alpha test. We haven't even had an announcement of when the alpha test is going to come out, never mind beta testing. And from a personal perspective, I'm not going to participate this time round. And the reason why I'm not going to participate this time round is I simply don't think it matters. And this is based off my experience pretty much with Battle for Azeroth. Because in Battle for Azeroth, we gave feedback after feedback after feedback on the content, and it was just ignored. It was just ignored. We were essentially glorified stress testers and bug finders, and that was it. They had no interest in terms of what you really thought of Warfronts or Island Expeditions or the Azerite armor. All of the criticisms that were levied very early doors on these systems, Blizzard just ignored every single bit of it. So there's no point, you know? There's no point. I might get it when it releases, and we'll see what it's like, but there's just, in my eyes, no point. But that's, you know, alpha testing when? March? February? Beta testing when? April? May? Release when? August? September? You know, the sort of language around the whole test procedure of a brand new expansion, particularly if it's got any worth behind it. I mean, if it's as pathetic and piss poor as Battle for Azeroth's 0.0 patch release was, then fine, you know, they could crack this out in 4 months, no problem, because there was no effort put into that. Copy and paste some things from Legion, job done. Oh, wait a minute, it's a sack of shit. But if they're actually giving a toss about Shadowlands, then test procedures tend to go on for approximately 6 months. So even now, you're sort of pushing the door in terms of Battle for Azeroth with people for approximately 2 years, with only 2 patches of any worth at all, and content that's debatable. I mean, the initial feedback I'm already getting from 8.3 is, yeah, it seems to be okay. Essences are a pain in the ass. But this is very early doors indeed, and apparently the essences was something that was brought up a lot in testing on the PTR. But again, Blizzard just don't care. Don't care. This is the way we've got to set things up because we want to drag things out for you. So this is it, folks. This is it. Patch 8.3 for the World of Warcraft. No more content after this. It's time for you to start sort of analysing what you thought of this expansion, where it holds up in terms of comparison against the other expansions. I would be interested legitimately to kind of see your grade. Feel free to tweet me with your grading of World of Warcraft expansions, including Battle for Azeroth, now that we've had all the content that you're going to get. So there we go, folks. There's a little bit of a personal deep dive into this thing. Thoughts and feelings. My own personal ones. You can have your own. I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.